Mount Ararat at 4,630 meters altitude, Part 16. From the Google Earth images of Noah's Ark appears very different from how the ship has been imagined to appear, from Hollywood, Bible movies, books, and from people's imagination. The ship's design appears complex, especially its front side, more resembling as that of modern ship design than something of an ancient ship design of thousands of years ago. A complex ship design, complex even for our present day. A 27 meters long front side and front decks as that of a modern cargo ship design for ocean travel, built to sail over oceans and cross through waters of strong and high currents, as that of today's modern cargo ships. The barge building or barge structure presents itself with a section detached in a clean break from the rest of the ship and standing uphill over the rock wall of the cavern, where the rest of the ship is present at the cavern's bottom. That section detached and separated from the ship reveals a barge building made of separate sections that then are joined together, and not that of a single building, but a ship made of separate sections that then are assembled together, an assembly line manufacture of a ship built in a shipyard. This barge-type building, which makes something like 70% of the ship, so different from the front side as of Noah's Ark, is two ships in one ship, or it coming from different projects of ship construction, or as I believe, a half of a ship, the front side, to superstructure, and then a barge-type building added to that half of the ship as a different project, something added in a later time. Could 8 people build this ship? Noah, his wife, 3 sons, and their wives? With what were the construction tools of the Neolithic age? Impossible. 8 people alone could build that front side, but not with Stone Age tools. The barge building 8 people could build, but with modern heavy machinery. The Google Earth images reveal a barge building made of separate sections, as separate buildings that are attached together through interlocking closures to form one single building. This kind of ship construction in ancient times, without heavy machinery, industrial plants, a shipyard type construction, would be very difficult, but not impossible. In ancient times, it could have been done, but would require a workforce of thousands of workers carrying and lifting sections of the barge building to then place them together. But it's that interlocking mechanism between each barge section that has the barge building appear as an unknown method of construction. Unknown for us, but not unknown for many archaeological unknowns all across the globe, where buildings of massive size built through unknown methods of placing precisely stones of massive size and weight by the hundreds and thousands, placed together over each other, forming high buildings, high walls, or megalithic stones of thousands of tons for ceremonial ritual use. Methods of construction and raising weights from a Stone Age science that till today remains a mystery. In that cavern lies the answer to all these mysteries. Discover how the ship was built, and the answers to all these unknowns of how they were built is answered. But most of all, the time of when these archaeological wonders were built, that I believe all coming from that same civilization and world destroyed by the wrath of God in a massive global flood. According to some Bible historians, Noah's Ark was built in a time between 55 to 75 years. 8 people building this ship in a time of 55 to 75 years. It is a very long time to build a ship. For most people today, it is a lifetime. A ship construction done by 8 people in such a long time. For a ship of this size, yes, 55 to 75 years of time, because only 8 people participated in the ship construction. More people working on this project, lesser time required to build the ship. But as I said, without modern type machinery or machinery resembling that of our modern times, 8 people cannot build that ship. Without speaking of the barge building, that too built, it is not a matter of time, but how to build it without machinery. With Noah's Ark, you see a ship construction at its barge building, where pieces of the barge of a minimum length of 20 meters each are built separately, and then once each piece is finished, are joined together. Without a crane that lifts these pieces together, 8 shoulders could not lift that weight. This is what I mean by 8 people alone could not build this ship. It's not a matter of time, but how much massive weights were carried. 8 arms and shoulders lifting that barge section and then attaching it to the barge building. Impossible. That section could weigh at least 100 tons. That section carried over 8 shoulders, or pushed over some ramp to then attach it to another section with extreme precision. Impossible without machinery. There are only 2 ways this could have been done. A workforce of hundreds if not thousands of workers, or the use of modern machines, such as cranes. But not the cranes of ancient times, but those that today are used to build apartments and office buildings. Someone would say, okay, so he used a crane. Sure. The problem with a crane is that the first known cranes dates back to 1500 BC. Noah's Ark came from a time before 4000 BC. This would have the invention of the crane at least 2,500 years before. This alone would represent an incredible archaeological discovery as to rewrite history. If Noah used cranes for both the building of his ship, but also that of loading the animals on board of his ship, that by the looks of the barge, the breastfield, and the buildings that came out from the ship when the ship fell into this cavern, breaking its bottom and right side hull. Without cranes, how could Noah place the animals inside these buildings, some of which stand over each other, forming multiple levels and floors? Cranes to build the ship, cranes to board animals, cranes to take animals out of the ship when the ship landed on Mount Ararat. Without a crane, 8 people could not build this ship. Not even in 1,000 years. The ship could not possibly be built. So Noah's Ark had a crane on board of his ship, used both to build the ship and to load the animals. So what's the big deal? The big deal is that if that thing standing over that rock and stuck into it is a crane, the invention of the crane would date back, not at 1500 BC, but that of at least 4000 BC. A Neolithic age of Stone Age peoples using cranes would rewrite history, revealing a Neolithic not of hunters and shepherds as believed, but of builders and scientists. But there is also something else about that thing standing and stuck in that rock near the ship's rear. If that thing is a crane, then by the looks of it, it resembles something very modern. A Neolithic that had these cranes would reveal a technological Neolithic of science and modern technologies. And this could be the answer to all those archaeological unknowns of massive buildings built in a time believed primitive and before civilization began. They used cranes to raise their buildings. But this would open up to another mystery. If that the Neolithic was advanced in sciences, then where are the machines they used to build their buildings? The answer to this question is that it was not they that built their buildings, but someone for them. Higher beings not of this earth, built for them. Higher beings that rebelled against their Creator, driven by lustful desire for human women, and to replace the worship of the God of heaven with they as the gods and rulers of man.